I'm at my nephew's wedding last summer, and during the reception, a woman I've never met sits down next to me. She looks at my ring finger, sees it's empty, and says, 78 and still alone. That's so sad. I told her I was married for 23 years, divorced at 52, never looked back. She patted my hand like I was dying. Here's what she didn't know. I'm healthier than I was at 60. I've got more money than I ever had married. I've got more real friends than most married men I know. And I'm the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. I'm Walter. I'm 78 years old, and I'm going to tell you why single men are happier than anyone wants to admit, and why married men might actually be the lonely ones. Here's what took me 78 years to understand. Society handed me a script. Get married, have kids, check the boxes. I followed that script perfectly for 23 years, and I was miserable without knowing why. The day I stopped following the script was the day my life actually started. That woman at the wedding, she looked at me with pity, but she had it completely backwards. She saw an old man sitting alone and assumed something was missing. She didn't ask if I was happy. She just assumed I couldn't be. That's the story we've all been sold. Single means lonely. Single means failure. Single means something went wrong. What I'm about to tell you, most people won't say out loud, because it challenges everything we've been taught about what makes a good life. And I know what you're thinking. He's just bitter. He's just coping. He's just telling himself stories to feel better about being alone. I'm not. And by the end of this, I think you'll see why. Let me tell you 5 things I wish someone had told me at 30. Things that would have saved me years of pretending to want a life I didn't actually want. Truth 1. The risk has changed. The reward hasn't. Most men feel this, but won't say it out loud. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. When I was young, the deal made sense. You commit, she commits. You build something together. Mutual investment, shared risk, shared reward. If things went wrong, you both lost something. That kept people honest. That kept people invested. That deal doesn't exist anymore. Not the way it used to. I have a friend named Ray. Good man, hardworking, did everything right for 30 years, provided for his family, never missed a soccer game, never raised his voice, loved his wife the best way he knew how. She left him anyway, took the house, took half his pension. Now he sees his kids twice a month if he's lucky. Ray did everything right, and he lost everything anyway. I'm not telling you this to make you angry. I'm telling you because it's true, and because young men today can feel it, even if they can't put words to it. They look at relationships, and something doesn't add up. They watch their fathers, their uncles, their older brothers. They see the risk, and they're hesitant. People call them commitment phobic. People say they need to grow up. But maybe they're just paying attention. Here's what I've learned. When the risk goes up and the reward stays the same or gets worse, smart people stop playing. That's not fear. That's not immaturity. That's math. If you look at relationships today and think, this doesn't add up for me, you're not crazy. You're not broken. You might just be the first honest person in your family. But here's the part that really surprised me. The loneliness I was so afraid of, it was never where I thought it was. Truth 2. Married men are the lonely ones. Everything I'm about to say sounds backwards, but every married man watching this knows it's true. The loneliest I ever felt in my life was in my marriage. Not after, during. Sharing a bed with someone, eating dinner across from them, watching TV in the same room, and feeling completely, utterly alone. Like we were 2 strangers who just happened to live in the same house. That kind of loneliness is worse than being by yourself, because you can't even name it. You're not supposed to be lonely. You have someone, so what's wrong with you? Here's what I didn't understand until after. You know what most married men don't have? Friends. Real ones. When I was married, I had acquaintances, work buddies, guys I'd nod to at the hardware store, but no one I actually talked to. No one who knew what was really going on in my life. My wife was supposed to be everything. Best friend, therapist, companion, confidant. That's a lot to ask of one person. And when she couldn't be all of that, which no one can, I had nowhere else to go. After the divorce, I had to rebuild from nothing. And you know what I built? Actual friendships. Carl from the shop. Known him 40 years, but we never really talked until I was single. Now we grab coffee every Tuesday. My brother Eddie. We went 15 years barely speaking. Now he's one of my closest friends. My neighbor Frank, also divorced, also happier. We look out for each other. Studies show single men maintain more friendships than married men. And I believe it, because married men outsource everything, emotional support, companionship, conversation, to one person. They call it commitment, but it's not intimacy. It's isolation with company. It's dependency dressed up as love. Single men have community. Married men have one person who's supposed to be their entire world, and when that falls apart, they have nothing. If you're single and people tell you that you must be lonely, ask them how many real friends they have. Not acquaintances, not work buddies. Real friends they actually talk to. Watch their face when they try to answer. Now let me tell you what single men actually do with all that freedom everyone thinks they're wasting. If anything I just said made you stop and think, if you felt something you've never heard anyone say out loud before, you're not alone. There are millions of men who feel exactly what you feel. They just don't know anyone else does. Subscribe, not for me, for them. Truth 3. Your health, your money, your time. This is where single men are quietly winning, and nobody talks about it. Let's start with health. Single men go to the gym more. They take better care of themselves. And I know why. When you're not managing someone else's schedule, someone else's needs, someone else's moods, you actually have time for your own body. I'm 78 years old, and I'm in better shape now than I was at 60. That's not a joke. That's not exaggeration. It's the truth. I walk 3 miles every morning, rain or shine. I cook what I want to eat, not what someone else is craving. I sleep when I'm tired and wake up when I'm rested. No negotiations, no compromises. Just me taking care of me. When I was married, my health was always last on the list. There was always something more urgent, someone who needed something. By the time I got to myself, I was too tired to bother. Now, I'm the priority, and it shows. When I was married, money was a negotiation. Every purchase, every decision. Do we need this? Can we afford that? What about the kids? What about the house? What about her mother's birthday? Every dollar had to pass through a committee. Now, I know exactly where every dollar goes because I'm the only one spending it. 5 years ago, I bought a cabin. Small place, up in the mountains. Nothing fancy. But it was the cabin I'd been dreaming about since I was 40 years old. Paid cash. Nobody's opinion required. Nobody asking if it was practical. Nobody suggesting we use the money for something else. I sat on the porch that first night, and I thought, this is what freedom feels like. And then there's time. I've read more books in the last 5 years than I read in my entire marriage. I have time to think, time to sit with my own thoughts, time to watch the sun come up without rushing to be somewhere. That's a luxury married men don't understand. Their time belongs to everyone else. Mine belongs to me. People look at single men and assume they're wasting their lives, wasting their potential, wasting their best years. But what if they're not wasting anything? What if they're investing? If you're single and you're healthy and you're building something, whether that's a business, a skill, a savings account, or just a life you actually enjoy, you're not wasting your life. You're investing in it. That's not selfish. That's smart. But here's the truth that took me the longest to see, and it goes all the way back to when I was a kid. Truth 4. The yoke you escaped and almost war again. If you understand this, you'll never see your life the same way again. When I was a boy, all I wanted was to grow up. I used to lie in bed at night and imagine what it would be like. No bedtime, no chores, no one telling me what to eat, where to go, when to be home. I dreamed about freedom the way some kids dream about being astronauts. I couldn't wait to escape my parents' rules, their schedule, their expectations, their control over every single part of my day. And eventually I did. I turned 18, I moved out, I got a job, I was finally free for about 6 months. Then I got married, and I handed all that freedom right back to someone else. Different person, same yoke. I spent my whole childhood dreaming of independence. Then I grew up and gave it away, voluntarily, eagerly, because that's what you were supposed to do. I didn't even question it. Why would I do that? I'll tell you why. Because nobody told me I had a choice. The script said, grow up, get married, start a family. So that's what I did. I traded one set of obligations for another and called it maturity. The day after my divorce was finalized, I woke up in my apartment. Small place, half empty. Just me and a coffee maker and some boxes I hadn't unpacked yet. And I realized something that hit me like a truck. For the first time since I was 18 years old, nobody was expecting anything from me. No schedule, no obligations, no performance. No one waiting for me to be somewhere. No one needing me to be something. I sat in my kitchen that morning and I cried. Not from sadness, not from loneliness, not from regret, from relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. It felt like I'd been holding my breath for 23 years and finally let it out. We spend our youth escaping one yoke. Then society convinces us to put on another. And we don't call it obligation. We don't call it sacrifice. We call it love. We call it growing up. We call it doing the right thing. And for some people, maybe it is. I'm not here to tell anyone their marriage is a prison. Some people are built for partnership. Some people thrive in it. But some of us aren't. And we spend years, decades, wondering what's wrong with us. Why we feel trapped when we're supposed to feel grateful. Why we dream about escape when we're supposed to feel complete. There's nothing wrong with us. We just put on a yoke that was never meant for our shoulders. If you fought your whole childhood for freedom, and now you're hesitant to give it away to a relationship, that's not immaturity. That's not fear of commitment. That's not something broken inside you. That might be the smartest thing about you. You're not refusing to grow up. You're refusing to shrink back down. But none of this matters if you can't do one thing. And this is the part nobody wants to hear. Truth 5. You have to like who you're stuck with. The men who are happiest alone did something most people spend their whole lives avoiding. They learned to like themselves. That sounds simple. It's not. When you're single, you're with yourself all the time. Every morning when you wake up, every night before you fall asleep, every quiet moment in between. There's no one to distract you from your own thoughts, no one to fill the silence, no one to tell you who you are or what you should be doing. It's just you, alone with you. And if you can't stand your own company, that's a problem no relationship will ever fix. You can get married, you can surround yourself with people, you can fill every hour of every day with noise and activity and obligations. But eventually, the noise stops, and there you are, still stuck with yourself, still unable to sit in a quiet room without crawling out of your skin. I know, because that was me. For most of my marriage, I didn't know who I was. I knew who I was for my wife. I knew who I was for my kids. I knew who I was at work, at church, at family dinners. But just me, alone, I had no idea. After my divorce, I had to find out. And it wasn't easy. The first few months were brutal. I didn't know what to do with myself. I'd sit in my apartment and feel this restless, anxious energy, like I was supposed to be somewhere, like I was forgetting something important. I wasn't. I just didn't know how to be alone. So I learned. I learned to cook for one, not just microwave dinners, actually cook. Take my time, enjoy the process. I learned to sit in silence. No TV, no radio, just me and my thoughts. It was uncomfortable at first. Then it became peaceful. I learned to enjoy a Saturday with no plans and no guilt. To wake up and ask myself, what do I want to do today? Not what should I do? That question used to terrify me. Now it's my favorite part of the week. I like who I am now. I didn't always. For most of my life, I avoided myself. Relationships were part of that avoidance. Being needed was easier than being known. That's the work nobody talks about. Single men who are miserable aren't miserable because they're single. They're miserable because they haven't done the work. They haven't learned to sit with themselves. They haven't become someone they actually want to spend time with. And here's the truth. No amount of freedom will feel like freedom if you don't like the person who's free. If you don't enjoy being alone, the answer isn't to find someone else. It's to become someone worth being alone with. That takes time. It takes honesty. It takes sitting in the discomfort instead of running from it. Give yourself that time. Do the work. So, that's it. 5 things I wish someone had told me when I was young enough to use them. But I want to leave you with one more thought. I want to be clear about something. I'm not saying marriage is bad. I'm not saying relationships are a trap. I'm not saying everyone should live the way I live. Some people are built for partnership. They thrive in it. They need it. And there's nothing wrong with that. My kids are married. They're happy. Good for them. I mean that. I'm glad they found what works for them. But some people are built for solitude, and there's nothing broken about that either. For most of my life, everyone told me that being single was a problem to solve, a gap to fill, a failure to fix. It wasn't. It was an opportunity I almost missed, an opportunity to know myself, to build a life on my own terms, to wake up every morning and answer to no one but the man in the mirror. I almost gave that up because I thought I was supposed to. Remember that woman at the wedding, the one who looked at my empty ring finger and told me how sad it was? I think about her sometimes. She saw an old man sitting alone at a table and assumed tragedy. She saw what was missing. She didn't see what was there. She didn't see what I see every morning when I wake up. Freedom, quiet, health I didn't have at 60, money in the bank that belongs to me, friends who actually know me, not acquaintances, real friends, a cabin in the mountains I bought with cash, a life I chose instead of a life I just fell into. She saw an old man alone. I see a man who finally stopped pretending. If you're a single man and the world keeps asking what's wrong with you, at family dinners, at weddings, at work, in your own head late at night, let me tell you something from 78 years on the other side. Nothing is wrong with you. You're not broken, you're not incomplete, you're not missing something everyone else has figured out. You just stopped jumping off a bridge because everyone else was jumping. And that might be the smartest thing you ever did. So here's my permission, if you need it. You probably don't. But just in case, you're allowed to be happy alone. You're allowed to want a quiet life. You're allowed to measure success differently than your father did, or your friends do, or society says you should. You're allowed to like your life exactly as it is. That's what 78 years taught me. 5 truths I wish someone had told me when I was 30. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a cabin to enjoy, and nobody waiting for me to finish. If you know a man who needs to hear this, a brother, a friend, a son who's been told his whole life that something's wrong with him, send him this video. You might not be able to say these words yourself, but now you don't have to.